75 in the win column. Not what we wanted, but improvement nonetheless. Hi, I'm Jeff.
Tom.
I'm Kim.
And we are the Three Old Reds fans. This is our podcast coming to you from Studio 82. Back in Studio 82, down the street from our good friends at Beans in the heart of Cedarville. Of course, as always, the famous birthplace and final resting place of Reds pitching legend Bumpus Jones. As a listener to our podcast, thank you for being one of the most loyal Reds fans ever. I heard today that the Reds attendance was like 1.7 some million this year, one of the three lowest since early 80s.
Is that right?
Yeah. We have 5-star rating on Apple Podcast app, but we'd love more ratings and reviews. Leave us a review there. Comment on Podbean or follow us on Twitter, Three Old Reds fans, or Facebook. Right into a Twitter question from Daily Dalton. Who has underachieved the most this season? I mean, the Reds as a whole underachieved, but what guy are you like, wow, that was really disappointing?
Probably Joey. Joey Votto.
For his standards.
For his standards. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess you could say, I don't know. You can go around.
You go around.
It's hard. I mean, Scooter before he left was way underachieving. He was our main guy last year.
Yeah. Somebody else that you thought would.
I'm going to give honorable mention to Scott Shepler.
Yeah.
Fell off the face of the
I
earth.
thought he'd at least be on the team.
Unfortunately.
Right?
And I'd have to say Jose Peraza, just because of the very good second year he had.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Then he had to lead the team in hits. His strikeouts were low, and he was actually starting to walk a little. And it was set for him this year, especially with Scooter getting hurt. All right, just go play and do what you did last year, and he just fell down.
That's a good one, yeah. Do you think Winker underachieved? I hate to bring it up with you two because you're such Winker lovers.
I think if you go and you look at his OBP and everything else, it's some of the best on the team. All right, but maybe what I expected out of him, it was a little less, but I don't think it was the most on the team by any means. He actually had some of the better numbers on the team, and when he got hurt, when Irvin started playing every day like a lot of fans did, his average went down about 50 to 60 points.
Puig underachieved until about the last month he was here.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
And I think the other big disappointment was Alex Wood. We thought we were
I did include him because he was hardly on the field.
I know, but
that's a really.
I don't know that he underachieved so much as he just was disappointment because we didn't get what we
still don't know what we have.
We still don't know if we got anything.
Trevor Bauer was a flop when he came over.
Yeah, he didn't pitch well. His ERA was close to 7.
Well, we didn't have any trouble coming up with about 6 or 7 guys.
Yeah, that was an easy question. And we
didn't even mention Iglesias.
Iglesias, yeah.
Yeah. We need tougher questions. All right. Will we get?
What are you saying to Dalton? Dalton, good question.
Good question.
Kim and Tom thinks this is a good question, Dalton.
Yeah. Do we get Puig? Will we get Puig back? Do you think that's in the cards?
Do we need Puig back?
I don't know.
I'm going to say just because of what Aquino did is going to decrease the chances.
Yeah, I agree. That was a question?
Yes. What we're going to do here on this show, we're going to talk really about offense, or the lack thereof, and how we get better and what we need to do. And then on our next show will be more of what we'll be focused on pitching.
But we have to say this year the biggest disappointment was definitely offense.
Offense, yes. And Turner Ward, we're recording this today, the same day Turner Ward was let go as a hitting coach. I don't know if it's his fault or not. I mean, who knows? But, I know in the middle of the season, Tom was like, well, we brought this guy in to be the hitting coach, and we're not hitting, so maybe it's the coach.
You got it. After a season like this, somebody's got to be held accountable.
Billy Hatcher. Danny Darwin, then they let those two go?
Those guys are gone too.
Well, that's a whole other thing. It sounds like they're revamping their whole minor league instructional system.
Yeah,
they let 3 or 4 guys
can make some changes.
But Turner Ward has to be accountable for that. I mean, everything else was the same going into the season with our starters, basically, right? Except for Puig. Everything else was the same with the starters, except the head coach and the head coach. So what happened? It's a mystery. You can't blame it all on Scooter getting hurt.
No. I think this year, if I heard the number right in the last week of the season, 57 one-run games.
Is that right?
We had a losing record.
Wow.
Suarez is player of the month last month of the season. Hit 10 home runs, scored 11 runs.
Oh my.
He only scored once.
And I'm guessing he had about, 14 RBIs off those 10 home runs?
Probably, and he's, if he wasn't hitting it over the fence, he couldn't get across the plate.
Wow.
So
That's an interesting stat.
Weird stat. What I did was, and we'll try not to be too deep in the weeds on this all the way through. I'll try to talk about it as well. But I looked at Baseball Reference, and I looked at I just picked a couple stats. You could pick many stats, and I'm sure they would all reveal about the same thing. So when you go to a team page, they put pictures there. They put the top 12 guys on that team for WAR. For the Reds, Sonny Gray, 5.6, Suarez 4.5, Castillo 4.4, Esclafani 2.6. Top 5 guys. You go all the way down. Votto 1.6, Roark's in that list 1.6, Jose Iglesias 1.5. I skipped Lorenzen 2.4, Aquino 1.4, Garrett 1.2, Casali 1.2, and Irvin 1.0. Totals 29. Does that sound very high?
All right, compare that for us, Jeff.
All right, so I looked. So the St. Louis Cardinals, who won the Central Division, their top 12 guys total 35.2. Flaherty's their number one guy at 6. Colton Wong, 4.7. DeYoung, 4.1. Edman, the guy they brought up, who played really well, 3.8. Goldschmidt's only 2.8. Not a great year for Goldschmidt, but they still won the division. The Los Angeles Dodgers, who won, 106 games? Gold standard in the National League. Guess what? Do you think their WAR was higher than the Cardinals?
I would assume it is.
45.7 for their top 12 guys. This isn't like measuring the whole team, but you got to get your top 12 players.
That's your team.
That's really who carries you, right? Bellinger, of course, 9.
Nine.
Muncy 5.7, Ryu 5.3. He had some bad outings in the second half of the season. Yeah, I know, because I had him on my fantasy team. But so actually, Sonny Gray had a better season in WAR than Ryu. But when you look at the Reds, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. First 5 guys are over 2. The Dodgers 1, 2, 3, 4. First 5 guys are over 3. 6 is 3.6, 3.3, 3.1. You got to go down to their 10th guy, 11th guy to get under 2. Wow. So we know why they win 106 games and the Reds won 75 games.
Well, what's it like for the Cardinals? Do you have the same thing?
Yeah.
How many guys do they have over 2?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
They have 10 as well.
They have 10 as well, yes.
And we have 3?
No, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So
and then it goes all the way to 1.6.
So basically, they have 5 more players than that.
Yeah, and the Dodgers have 5 more really good players than the Reds do. So
that's huge.
Yeah, when you put it in that. So, then I looked at OPS plus. We know what OPS is on base plus slugging. When you add the plus, it's that where 100 is average, right? Average major leaguers at 100, and then whatever number you are above it is percentage better than the average, and whatever number you are below it is percentage below the average. So, who do you think had the highest OPS plus for the Reds?
Suarez.
Okay, 134. Who do you think's number 2? This isn't like you can't
look.
No.
Shortstop.
No way. Not even close.
Really?
Well, Puig's not on. I didn't.
Okay,
put him on the
I
list.
didn't.
I just got guys who are still on the team, and I didn't choose guys. I didn't just sort of look at guys who've been there all year. I didn't pick a guy who had 10 at bats either. But
I'm going to say Winker's up there.
Winker's 111. He's 3rd.
Votto.
Votto's up 98. Votto's below average player this year. And most people don't, according to OPS plus. So it's 98 on there. So Votto, if you look at all the numbers, he's probably pretty much an average.
So this is on base, slugging.
Plus slugging. Aquino, 122.
Yeah, but it's not a big enough sample size.
I know, but that's what we got to work with.
Yeah.
On this team.
I get it.
So for 2 months, he's at 122. Irvin 102, Dietrich 100, but Dietrich had 2 hits since the All-Star break. Votto 98, Senzel 89, Van Meter 88, Iglesias only 85.
Really?
Iglesias is not
He hit for average, though.
big deal.
He must have a walk.
His singles, man. His on base is low. He is not Jose Iglesias. For what he helped this team, we still didn't win.
They're clamoring for that. Everybody's clamoring to re-sign him.
No, I think I would let him. I wouldn't.
Oh, who you gonna put?
I might re-sign him.
Freddie Galvis.
I don't like him either. I would maybe re-sign him.
Put Senzel back in the
as a
infield?
backup, but I don't. I think we gotta. Well, we'll get into that.
I
So
think that's a legitimate option.
could happen. You'll get a center field.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Cardinals aren't much better than the Reds in this. Edmund 120, Goldschmidt 113, Ozuna 108. Not a whole lot better. It's the Dodgers. Again, if you want to be the best team in the National League, Bellinger 169, Will Smith, who came up as a catcher,
169.
134, Muncy 133, Justin Turner 131, Peterson 127.
Wow.
I mean, they got like 10 guys over 100.
Wow.
You know, and so then you start looking at things like on base percentage. If you look at on base, batting average, slugging, OPS, OPS plus, home runs, and runs, the Reds are anywhere in the National League. They're usually like 10 or 12 in any of those. They were 7th in home runs, but they're 12th in runs. The Cardinals are 9, 11, 12, 11, 12, 10, and all these numbers. The Dodgers, 2nd on base percentage, 5th. Dodgers hit 257. The Reds and Cardinals hit 244 and 245, but the Dodgers on base was 338, with 322 for the Cardinals, 315 for the Reds.
So are you saying offensively, though, the Reds and the Cardinals are very similar?
Kind of similar.
That's surprising me.
Kind of similar. The Cardinals a little deeper, a little better, but not a huge gap. And then the Dodgers is a big gap.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers led the league in home runs scored, OPS, slugging. 5th in batting average, only 257, but they tons of extra base hits, and that adds up to more runs, right? And so, and 2nd on base percentage. So, to me, the question then becomes, what do these numbers say that we need? We need, obviously, more bats. So, I have my thoughts about where to try to add bats. I want to hear what you. I'll start with you guys. Where's the best? What are a couple places? We'll talk more about who. There's certain free agents, certain guys might be available in trades. You could say we could put a guy who's going to get a 6 or better WAR and be one of the top 10 hitters in the National League at 2 different positions. Where would those positions? What do you think that should have?
We got to pick 2 positions here.
Well, or maybe outfield, middle infield, catcher, third base, whatever. I'm just thinking.
Well, the obvious one is outfield and probably second base, right? I mean, usually your shortstop, you can't get a big offensive guy as a shortstop too often.
Well, not too often unless you get indoors.
Yeah, but that's so rare.
I know.
So second baseman is more common. Really, your outfielders are your bats usually, right? And then the corner infielders. So what about first base?
He's not going anywhere.
I don't feel like Joey's going to get better.
You think Joey will have? You think Joey will have a worse year next year?
If you go back and listen to our conversations 3 years ago, I was mentioning Votto, and he's going to decline. I mentioned that in this room 3 years ago. No, I do not think he is.
Because
Because
we came into this year thinking,
hoping.
Suarez, Votto, Jeanette. That's the big bats in the middle of the order, and all we got was Suarez. And he actually, even though he hit 49 home runs, some of his other numbers aren't as good. And he was streaky. So, question then is...
You're not going to be able to deal Votto.
No, that's not unless he says he wants to go somewhere. He just was on record recently saying, I want to stay here.
Well, go to Toronto.
And if I decide I can't hit anymore, I'll quit. I'll walk away from my contract if I have to. I don't know if that's...
Anybody believe that?
I don't know if I believe that or not.
I think if
I
anyone
believe it
would
from
do it, would be
anybody,
a Votto.
if I believe from anybody, it'd be him. So,
Well, I'll answer your question. Because of the health of Senzel, but because of what he can do, I think you look to move him to second base. That takes care of your second base position. You need a center fielder, and I said this during the course of this summer too, catcher. I love Barnhart. He really improved when he got back after his injury, but he improved defensively to where he was throwing out runners again, and he's such a great guy behind the plate. But I would love to see a top-notch catcher. Up the middle.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's up the middle is where we have a chance to improve offensively. Catcher, middle infield, and center field.
Why aren't you saying first base?
Because I think that's, yeah, we could improve at first base, but I don't think that's a moot point.
Don't you think as a general manager, though, you look for best available at any of those positions?
Yes.
Best available. You can't say I'm only looking for a center field, right? It's too narrow. You go best available center field, middle infield, first base catcher.
So do you think? All right. So we've established. Looking at those numbers, I mean, I think we knew it. I like to look at those numbers and go like, yeah, we really got to improve our bats. So I can very well see next year. I'd be shocked if it's not Votto and Suarez at the corners. Probably a Winker Irvin continuing left. Very possibly Aquino in right. I mean, I think that they're going to try that. I'd be shocked if they don't, unless somebody really says, we love Aquino and we'll give you this for it. Right. I know, that's hard to say.
Right.
But you got a lot of control. So, do you think the Reds, here's what's available on the free agent market. Grandal is available as a catcher. It's a definite improvement. Anthony Rendon is a free agent. Has played a lot of second base at one time in his career. I do question whether the Nationals will let him go after they let Harper go. You let your next best player go. Gregorius is going to be out there. Bounce back. He had injuries problems this year. The Yankees are loaded in the infield and everywhere. I don't know if he's got a spot to play for them next year.
And you win the division with backups.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Gregorius has a spot next year. And so those guys, Castellanos is a free agent. I don't think he's a very good outfielder. And Quig's a free agent. So that's what's
probably Billy Hamilton's probably available someplace. Just saying.
I mean, we all love us a little Billy Hamilton now and then, but
more than now.
What's the possibility, and we'll talk about trade ideas too, what's the possibility of them really going to what? Like, Rendon would cost a lot. A Gregorius and a Grandal would maybe cost about as much as Rendon together and would solve two problems.
I still say within 2 years, Suarez is going to do the doggy, Tony Perez, and be at first base.
Okay. But I'm talking about next year.
Okay.
Well, go ahead. I mean, what does that have to do with? Okay, what does that have to do with next year then?
Do you start looking at a third baseman, another infielder? Because if Votto has another year like he did this past year, and injuries and his bad back and everything, you have to make a decision on Votto. I think sooner than later if you're serious about winning.
Yeah.
And so that's why I would start looking. If Jonathan India were ready to come up at the beginning of next year, and I don't think he is.
He hasn't been playing very well.
But let's say he does what
Aquino and Van Meter had last year,
and comes up, then you would look to make that move. I think sometime next year.
Well, I mean, I still think the jury's out on Senzel, but if he is who we want him to be, he could slide into third base.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that's
where he was.
That's where he played in the minors.
Right.
He's a good guy to have because I think he's going to be a pretty good player. I don't see him being top 10 player in baseball.
Not a Rendon.
Right. No, I don't see him being Rendon, but I see him being a really good player. I think he'll be better than. I think some guys hit the majors, and they're really good right away. Some guys need a year to get adjusted, and then they're good. Mm-hmm. I think maybe hopefully that's him. They've got to sign somebody. If they really want to say, we want to win this year, they got to sign one or two guys like that, or make a trade. Now, we didn't clean out the farm system last year, but we hurt the depth.
We got rid of some assets, that's for sure.
Yeah. Now, did you see where Boston says they're going to turn play?
Mm-hmm. They do.
And who's got one more year of control to play center field for the Red Sox?
Bradley Jr.
Well, could play center field for the Reds. I mean, Mookie. Mookie could come and play center field.
Hmm.
They would make a trade. So
Wasn't
that's-
he MVP 2 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the. He had another good year this year. He's not going to win MVP.
Wow.
His numbers are still good this year. Not what they were last year, but he still had a really good year.
He's got another year of control.
One more year of control.
Wow.
And the Red Sox are talking about trimming payroll. Well, I mean, he would
Well, he
probably
wouldn't-
arbitration get you. He'd probably get $20 million in arbitration this year, but do you make some hard choices in your farm system?
He'd be a bargain for the Red Sox to keep him.
Where they what you call it, the owner or GM has said they can't afford Betts and one other person.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So that-
yeah.
That's come out.
It's come out. So that's where all of a sudden, wow, Mookie Betts in center field, mixes out second base. All of a sudden, that looks a little more promising. I was hopeful about Van Meter, and Van Meter still may have a future, but he did not play well in the last month of the season. So I guess we're to that point now. So that's what we're getting to with this question is like middle infield, center field, catcher feel like the places that they can most easily improve on. Do they actually go for it? What do you think?
Well, 2 years ago, we would have said the Reds never do that. They never make big deals. But look what happened this season. They brought Puig in, they went and got Trevor Bauer. So I think there's a good chance they will. Now, they went on record, I forget, before one of the baseball on TV games, they said that they are going to address the bullpen. They said that. I haven't heard them say we're going to address the offense.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in the next show, but how they want to do that. Last year was what hashtag get the pitching.
Right. And they did that.
Is it hashtag get the hitting?
They did.
Is that what it is? And maybe then we'll turn award and get a hitting coach that
If hashtags are that easy, maybe we should say get to the playoffs.
Yeah, hashtag World Series.
There you go.
Yeah.
If that's all it is, I can do it.
Yeah. So the pitching will be probably about what it was this year, maybe a little better. It wasn't the best in the league, but it certainly was one of the better staffs in the league.
Goodness, yeah.
But offensively, this team's got to make some changes.
Is it
I
crazy
guess
we're
it's just,
saying this after the season?
Do we-
Last year we were saying it was the pitching.
yeah.
It was not the hitting, and now we're completely.
Do we trust them to do it? Do we trust them to? I mean, of course, the other part is you could make really good offers to all these guys. Why should anybody want to come to Cincinnati?
Right. 1.6 million.
Well, it's a hitter's park.
That might
Play
be.
1 year,
Yeah. I mean, would you give up a good prospect and maybe a decent major leaguer? A couple of good prospects, a decent major leaguer, knowing you only might have Mookie Betts for 1 year?
I guess it depends on who that prospect is.
You're right though. 1 year. I mean, it's not like the Reds almost made the playoff. They need one more guy to get it next year. If they have one more guy, that's not where they are.
They need a couple dudes.
Right. It's not like they just Mookie Betts for 1 year.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, they were a bit creative last year. That's the funny thing. There's always a lot of talk about, well, what could a team do? Could they do this, do that? And they usually end up doing something you don't see coming. It happens a lot. So I guess we'll find out. Okay, before we finish this show off, I want to review real quick who are at episode 44. Pretty good names on the number 44 list.
Easy one. Eric Davis.
Yeah. What was Merv Redmond?
Oh yeah, how can you forget that one time?
Mike Leake.
Good pitching.
Here's a couple names, pictures from back earlier in our fandom. Charlie Lee Grant,
Yeah.
Pat Darcy, and you go way back, Neil Blackwell.
Those are good names.
So, but yeah, Eric Davis and Dunn, and now we have Aquino. Yeah, that's been a pretty good number for the Reds. So.
Don't you think Aquino reminds you a little bit of Davis? He's wiry, skinny.
Yeah, completely different batting stance.
Yeah, no, but I mean just his
but
body build.
his build, yeah, a little bigger. He's
Yes.
6'5".
He doesn't have that narrow waist like Davis had.
Yeah.
So it's fun. So Aristides Aquino, I think that bears one last sort of thing before we wrap this one up. What do you think of that guy? I know it's a smallish sample size,
You know that's always my line.
but can Aristides Aquino come out and be a good everyday player next year? Hit 35, 40 bombs, be a guy in the middle of the lineup you can count on, and get some guys in when you
Did
need
you
it.
say 35 or 40 bombs
Yeah.
every year?
This next year, I'd say. I don't know.
No, I do not think so.
You don't think he'll do that? I think there's a chance.
Oh, sure. Hope springs eternal.
But hope isn't a strategy, right?
I think he can. Yes.
You think he can?
You know, look at. We had what 2 or 3 guys from the minors who just took off. You know, Van Meter was one. Aquino was one. O'Grady was one. Now O'Grady didn't do this in the majors, but Van Meter and Aquino certainly hit well in a stretch. It's hard to say stretches for Aquino because we only had him 2 months, but some people just mature a little bit later than others. And those two, for whatever reason, it wasn't until this past year or so, past 12 to 15 months, that we saw a rise.
They changed their approach at the playoff. Well,
And
Aquino, to be
Aquino's-
fair, was Florida State Player of the League of the Year when he was in Daytona, but then he had 2 bad years.
Well, yeah, but no one really wanted Aquino last year. It wasn't an
Yeah,
end.
because he had
We didn't
2
even know
bad
Van
years.
Meter's name either.
No, I never heard it.
So all yeah,
Aquino,
remember
I
you're
saw
like,
it.
oh, he's not going to mount anything
Aquino,
in
I
a
saw
text.
playing Dayton, and I saw that guy
Potential.
looks like legit major league athlete.
I think Aquino can play everyday right field and give us 35 to 40 home runs. I'm going to say 30 plus home runs realistically. But in 2 months, he averaged 9.5.
Yeah.
All right, in 2 months. So take that over 5 months. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah.
But that's a good question, Willie. I don't know.
Well, I'll say what Pete Rose always says. The great hitters are the ones that can make adjustments because what's going to happen is now everybody's got Aquino on film.
Mm-hmm.
And going into the next season, they're going to know exactly where his weaknesses are. Can he adjust? Because they're going to pitch him to his weakness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can he adjust his
The
weakness?
thing that people said about this year was like for a while, because even when they're pitching to your weaknesses, they make mistakes.
They make mistakes.
He never, for like most of the season, the guy didn't miss mistakes. He made a mistake, he did it back. He's that guy. So
But you're not going to hit 300.
he ended up hitting like 260s. All right, positions as they stand now: Barnhart, Casale, both back next year. Will there be a change?
I
know you- I know
hope
you
they
want
get
there
a
to be.
catcher, and if they do, then Barnhart's are back up.
Okay. I think we pretty much agreed Votto's at first. Middle infield right now: Van Meter, Iglesias, Peraza, Galvis, and Blandino. The guys that have sort of played the last second half of the season.
Good grief.
How
Flip a coin.
many of those guys are back? I
Flip a
hope
coin.
no. I think Peraza's he's a
Good
big
chance he's
good
gone.
candidate to be DFA.
Yeah, we have a good enough sample size.
Yeah.
I don't know if that could.
That's why I'm like, we got to go find a middle infielder.
That's why we bring Senzel to the infield.
Could be. Suarez at third, Winker, Irvin, platooning. I think that's a distinct possibility.
That worked.
It did.
That worked.
It did.
Wasn't great numbers, but overall, yeah.
I
know
can't
where
believe
going.
you're saying that.
I can't believe you are either.
But
Hey, because I'm
but-
looking at the front of the jersey. I'm looking at the name on the front of the jersey, okay?
I like it.
And so with that worked.
yes, it did. Because Winker is never. I mean, he had like one stretch win sometime in the minors. I've heard somebody say where he was hitting some left-handers for a while.
He's just
but he just doesn't.
he and Senzel have got to stay healthy. We got to see what they're about. And they got to stay healthy. But
Right now, Senzel would be the center fielder, up for maybe not based on what might happen. Keno probably right field, and our utility guys are Farmer and Dietrich. I think both those guys will be back.
what about Van Meter?
I put him in as a middle
Middle
infielder, but
Would you?
Van Meter could be a utility guy. Do you think Van Meter's a utility guy, and maybe a Farmer or Dietrich goes?
I would say out of Farmer and Dietrich, I keep Farmer just because he can also
Play
catch.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Catch.
I
Or
agree.
Dietrich's like he's got a beard.
Yeah.
Well, keep that picture of him next to your bed.
Anyway.
It's true.
He's sort of got he's fun. I guess that's the word I'm looking for.
I'll just put it this way.
But
Even the Pirate fans didn't boo him that much when we got swept in Pittsburgh early,
yeah.
late in the season. So
All
he
right.
lost his luster.
Yeah. So, well, maybe this episode's losing its luster right now. It's time to say goodbye. We'll be back to talk about pitching the next time around. All right? Good enough?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, until then,
Go Reds.